Go where it's warm is perhaps the best advice we can offer each other in times of distress. A pair of arms held out in the hospital room, or mugs of mint tea taken together at the table of mourning, you feel it as a force field, an orbit you slip into as soon as you meet someone new and sense that small blazing star pulsing in their chest, drawing you closer until you know you'll be circling that source of light and heat for the rest of your life. These words are the poem Orbit by James Cruz, and I think they kind of narrate Mary's actions after her encounter with Gabriel. Go where it's warm, he begins, in times of distress. And Mary is certainly in the midst of one of those. Her encounter with the angel, Luke reports, causes her to be greatly troubled. And we're going to Greek out for just a little minute here. Uses the verb diatarasso, an intensification of the word tarasso we talked about a few weeks ago when investigating Zechariah's encounter with the angel. To word nerd just a little bit more. Remember that word tarasso, that disturbance of spirit, is the completely warranted reaction to the inbreaking of the divine. When something challenges the nature of reality for you, it's the right thing to feel disturbed, that tarasso. The thing that the angels and Jesus warn against when they say, don't be afraid, is the more sinister deliao, the fear that settles in our spirits, shrinks our courage, our imagination, and makes us small. So, Mary experiences that diatarasso, a deep, embodied disturbance and dissonance that she has to navigate when she receives the invitation to this pregnancy as a subject to empire and patriarchy. The report of the angel leaves her shaken and possibly fearing for her life. Pregnancy out of wedlock could mean death by stoning. As Mary tries to turn toward the light that called her and to integrate her massive mix of emotions and reactions, distress and hope, joy and fear, prudence, wisdom, and street smarts, she decides to head for the hills. Part of the message that Gabriel brings her is that she has family who is on a parallel, if very different, journey. Elizabeth, married, much older, whose pregnancy would be received very differently than Mary's, is already 6 months along. Past the miserable and uncertain days of the first trimester, through the energized preparations and nesting of the second, starting to show, feeling the quickening, preparing physically and psychologically for the birth that is to come. Elizabeth was the warm place Mary could orbit. She had experience Mary could learn from, familiarity both in terms of blood and the spirit of the call. And she knew something of the surprising presence of God. Mary needed all of these things after her encounter with the angel Gabriel because she was so shaken. Had she consented? Yes. Had she had to let go of the dream she had of how her life would be? Yes. Was she wrestling both with fear about what could happen to her as a pregnant, unwed teen and hope about what God promised to do through her for her people, bearing a child whose name meant deliverance? Yes. Friends, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, in his little book, Life Together, about Christian community, talks about the wish dreams we set up for ourselves, making idols of our idealized versions of Christian community, or of partners, or of ministries, or of lives, or of ourselves, and the challenging necessity of letting the dream die, letting go of whatever imagined version of life we harbor so we can experience and engage what is real, because that is where God lives and can move. Mary said yes to the real thing that presented itself to her, a new, never before imagined life in partnership with God. And it was still shattering and scary. And she went someplace warm where she felt safe and loved so she could face this new reality from a place grounded in hope. The image on the front of your bulletin today, and I invite you to rustle papers and get there, turn to it, and there it is on our screens as well. It's called Mary's Yes by artist Lyle Gwynn Garrity. And it is an imagining of the moment before Mary fully turned toward her call, breathing deep, letting it sink in, before turning toward the dappled light and shadow, the warmth and the challenge of the angel's presence and God's call. Reverend Dr. Bo-Young Lee, our theological companion through this series, she notes that part of what connects the prophet Jeremiah, the first call we heard and read, and Mary, it's not, quote, lack of fear, but a deep, trembling resolve to move forward anyway. Not with certainty, but with open hands and the courage to say yes, even in the unknown, end quote. Dr. Lee continues, quote, call often comes when we're just trying to survive. Survival mode leaves little space for dreaming, let alone imagining oneself blessed among women. Yet God's call interrupts that quiet survival, not to exploit it, but to awaken her to a fuller, riskier, more radiant self. End quote. There will be cost to this yes for Mary. Suspicion, burden, estrangement, pain. But there is also life, friends. Growth, hope, freedom, joy. There is community and solidarity when she runs to the hills and can place her hands on Elizabeth's growing belly, feeling John kicking in there and finding laughter bubbling up out of her at this embodied confirmation of the angel's message and God's call. This warm, safe place, this blazing star, this pulsing heartbeat that is with her as she takes one uncertain step and then another and then another. People of God, we don't have to feel courageous to answer call. And plenty resist or mishear call because, like Mary, how can this be? Or Jeremiah, I am only a boy. We feel inadequate for the task at hand. Surely God has someone with more skill, more experience, more time in mind. The answer to that nonsense is usually no. If there is a whisper of a call, it is for the one who hears it, regardless of how they feel or how they are currently equipped. Mary's garments in that cover image, and you might need to look real closely at the cover to kind of suss this out. They're a reminder of this dance. If you look really close at her headscarf, you'll see that it's printed with the angel's message over and over and over again. Do not fear. 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 She's clothed in that reminder. Don't let it settle in your body. Don't let that fear settle there. And her robe is marked with her response right over her heart in that deep V. Here I am. Here I am. Here I am. The best and only response we have to offer God. Here I am. Friends, courage isn't banishing fear. It's continuing to move forward faithfully through the fear, in spite of the fear. So 3 questions to carry with us as we continue to carry Mary and her yes. Friends, what fear are you carrying? What invitation are you resisting because you feel inadequate to the task? And what would it mean to say yes, not fearlessly, but faithfully? Like Mary, may we feel the warmth, the possibility, the life in the invitations stirring within us. There is joy and community and the holiness of God to be found in the yes. May her words become our own. Let it be with us according to your word. May it be so. Amen.